you hear me okay?
Man, how's it going? What's up?
Okay, let me turn you up a little bit. There we go.
Clear. All right. Awesome. Went smoother than normal.
Well, you know, I aim to please.
Good deal. All right. Well, guys, everybody, welcome to Rig Chat. Our guest today is Charles Edward Alexander.
Hedger.
Is it Hedger? Is that how you say it?
Hedger.
Huh? All right. Good deal. Well, most notably, current player for Mayhem. You may have also seen him as I first discovered him with Cradle of Filth way back in the day, as well as Imperial Vengeance, and that one really cool Positive Grid video.
Yeah, that became famous. I think it was the moustache, actually. Yeah, I don't know. So that was
really?
a strange era of my looks.
It's cool, rocking the. It's kind of got like Charlie Bronson.
That was what it was in my head, but yeah.
I went through the exact same phase. So I had the bald head and the curly stash and all that. Yeah. Well, dude, thank you so much for taking the time to join us here. Well, I'm gonna try to rush through this because I know we're a little strapped for time. But for anybody willing to donate, obviously, Charles has got merch with Mayhem. We got merch. We got badges on here for the live stream if anybody is feeling extra charitable. But all right, enough shameless self-promotion. All right, man. So first off, how's
so far so good.
Going?
Went into the city, did some errands and stuff. Actually, it's kind of weird to be home because I've been away pretty much since February. We've been touring non-stop, so it's like weird sort of trying to adjust back to just doing the normal stuff that human beings do. You know what I mean? It's like no tour bus, no stage times, just living. So yeah.
Do you find yourself trying to make a schedule so you can actually kind of feel?
I only really work if I don't have a schedule. Then I just don't do anything. Like I need some sort of external force making me do things, even if it's just something that I've written for myself. You know what I mean? But I need that structure. I'm kind of institutionalized in that sense. Like I need timings. I need to have, maybe I'm on the spectrum or something. I don't know, but I need to have definite things I'm going to do through the day, or I just don't do anything.
Well, sure, and it kind of keeps you fresh for whenever it comes time to
absolutely
work for Mayhem or for Well, I gotta ask, what are you?
It's okay. So Macunudo. It's not a particularly fancy cigar. I mean, it looks a lot more fancy than it is, but it's like I think it's Mexican tobacco, or maybe it's Brazilian. It's like the leaf is from somewhere else from the tobacco. Like the wrapper is, and I think there's some Indonesian in here as well. It's been around a bit, but this cigar thing is a really stupid habit. Actually, it's something that I started because I thought it looked cool, but now it's like become a thing that I have to do day by day because it's like a comfort blanket or something, but it's a really expensive comfort blanket.
Sure. It's that and whiskey is like one of those special occasion things that I've indulged in, which I haven't smoked a cigar in years, but they do always tend to pair very well if you have like a decent like smooth whiskey or something.
Yeah, for me it's nice. Brandy, but it's or like cognac, but that's how it started, and now it's just like, oh, it's Wednesday, I should have a cigar,
Right. Well, let's kind of dive into the gear, since that's kind of what we're known for here, and I'm sure it's what a lot of people are tuning in for. So what is your current touring rig for Mayhem? I know you've kind of dabbled with some different solutions there.
Mayhem is a shockingly simplistic setup. gear wise, is basically my guitar running direct into a 6505. There's very little else involved. We have a little bit of delay for some of the leads, but that's actually handled from front of house, from the desk. Yeah, because you know, our guy knows the song so well that it's possible to do it like that. Of course, you know, it's nice to control this shit yourself, but it's actually oftentimes much more, well, there's less that can go wrong if it's handled from the desk, because you know cables aren't going to get kicked out on stage, and you know what I mean. If you have a sound guy that knows the material and can play the effects, it's often better to do it in this way. So actually, yeah, the live rig is literally a guitar into the 6505, and there's very little else going on. I think a band like Mayhem, the simpler that you keep it, the more raw, the more authentic it is. It's, you don't want to be layering. There's so much I'd like to do from a sort of, from my point of view. There's loads of things I'd love to do. Like I would love to have a setup like a Kemper or something where I could just have like different eras of the band. I could have a different sound, you know what I mean? But it's just, it's not the band for that. You know, it's that would just strip away some of the authenticity of what it is. It's a raw energy, you know, and you can't layer too much on top of that. You understand what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Plus, that would be so awesome to actually get like the authentic, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, when we've done the Demysteries tour, then we had a completely different setup. Then we were using Marshalls and metal zones and trying to get the sound of the album. But when we're doing now we're not doing that. Of course, now we're touring the Demon album, but we're still doing some of the Demysteries set. But so it's like a balance that we have to find. And actually, even though, well, when we recorded the Demon album, actually the rig setup wasn't that far different from the Demysteries setup. We were using Marshalls. We were using a mixture of things. But to pull this off live, we have to find a balance. And, you know, the 6505s, they just have such a nice tone. They have such a nice distortion and such a nice, crisp kind of raw sound that it's a good compromise to use for the whole set, basically, all the way from the Death Crush to the modern era stuff.
Yeah, that's the thing about PVs or the 5150 circuit, whichever variation you get. It just has this gain structure that it's not particularly like cutting or obtrusive. It just kind of meshes into everything.
It has a
like
kind of warmth to it, a sort of in the room presence to it that is kind of hard to define. There's not really language kind of fails when you try to describe it, but it's like something you can feel when it's there and when it's happening. And I really, really like it. And it's also something that is comfortable to play with. You know, it feels organic when you're playing with it, and that's really important, because distortions especially can become almost like a safety net for bad playing. And you don't get that with the PV stuff. It supports your playing, but it doesn't replace it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. So, what is your kind of go-to jam setup when you're at home or writing? Do you kind of try to stick to the Mayhem kind of sound, like something?
I've been through phases with this. You know, I've been through the Logic plugins click track phase, and now when I want to feel inspired, I want an amplifier in the room with me. And so now I have a Katana, you know, this tiny thing. But it sounds amazing. I mean, what is it, like 10 watts or something? Or it's like
They
right,
got
but
they got
it's
a
this
bunch of different
little
versions of it,
travel
but
thing, you know. But that's kind of what I
oh
do
yeah,
now
yeah, yeah.
because I like to I like it to just feel real, you know. And I think when you're writing inside a DOW, it's like you're not really writing authentically. You're not writing the way that you would on the instrument. You know what I mean? Like you like a pianist would never compose a concerto inside a digital domain. It's all there in front of them, and that you know it has to resonate in the room. And that's kind of where I am now when it comes to writing. I like to just sit down with an amp in the room with me. I like to hear the way that the air moves when I'm doing what I'm doing, and because that's how it's going to
Right.
end up. That's how it's going to be in the real world. So, and also,
Yeah.
I started to really turn away from this kind of digital production thing that's become so ubiquitous over the last 20 years. And I really have started to, maybe I'm just getting old. Well, I am getting old, but like maybe that's what it is. It's like I really started to turn back to just analog and the real deal, you know? So for me now, my writing setup is just me, a pen and paper and a small amp and just play. And that somehow just feels like a return to the roots, you know, and I think that
Yeah.
ultimately what comes out the other end of that is always going to be better than anything that you have like a MIDI drum beat and it's just not it's not the real thing. You know, it's not authentic, and yeah, you can come up with some cool ideas and whatever, but it's not going to move people. If it doesn't move you in the room, it's not going to move people. You know, you understand what I mean?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. With past projects of my own, the best songs that we came up with were ones that maybe me, the guitar player, had some riff ideas, like a skeleton that we'd bring in,
Right.
and we would just kind of jam on it
Yeah,
and
and you
flush
just
it out
play
there
and
in
you
the room.
play and you
It's
play and you
all
feel. This is the thing with the Demon album. We actually rehearsed this stuff and we played it and we played it. But now we've 2 years down the line or 3 years down the line, and we've played it live. Things have changed in the way that we play the songs, and we all have this feeling like, "Fuck, we should have recorded it like this." You know, this is how it should have been on the album because
yeah,
you feel it. You know, the songs kind of take you in a direction, so and it sort of pulls you naturally. And I think the more that you can incorporate that into what you record, the better. And this is the problem with the way that music works nowadays: is 90% of the time it just goes straight into like a Logic file, straight to everyone gets it by email, rehearse it, bang on, you know, into the studio, record it. Yeah, you have a good product,
oh
but
yeah,
it's not a real product. Like Motorhead wouldn't have done that. You know what I mean? It's not how music really works, not live organic music. So, and this band is really good for that because we don't play to click tracks. We don't nothing is digitized with this band. It's all very much what happens on the stage is just what happens, which is great. And so the songs kind
sure,
of evolve, but the frustrating part is they generally evolve for the better. And then you look back and think, shit, that's what we should have put down on the album. So in an ideal world, then we would do a live album with some of this stuff, you know, so that you can hear, so that so that we can commemorate the evolution of the material to this sort of natural, organic conclusion.
yeah. Have has it been talked about or considered to actually record the album live, like for your next
We've
one,
talked
like
about
new
doing
material?
some, yeah, we've talked
Kind of
about doing
recording
some
live with it.
live recordings. Maybe it's not. We have no direct plans, but it's definitely something we talk about a lot because we're very aware of the fact that this band is very much a live band in the sense that it's just very organic. You know, it's a very organic band. It's a very non-studio band. It's a very much in the room, almost like punk, I suppose, but in ethic, but not musically. When you see the response
Sure.
that we had to the live De Mysteries album, you know that people love that, and I love it. It's something I'm very proud of. You know, that album came out when I was early teens or something. You know, but to have contributed to its continued legacy is a real honor. But there is something about that live version that we did that seems to speak to people. You know, because it's, again, it's organic, and it's music, like it's real music. You know, so I think it's something that this band should explore more, probably, this idea of live recordings and live releases. I've never been that much of a fan of live releases with bands because I feel like it's like a lazy way to cash in. But it doesn't have to be. There are many examples of live albums that are just
Sure.
fantastic, you know, like the Pantera one that they did, the 101% Proof. You know, that's a great
Yeah.
capturing of a great band at their peak doing great songs. You know, so I think if we could achieve
Sure.
something like that, we'd all be happy with it. But there's a lot of logistics behind that. I would
Right.
like to see us do something like that, though.
And sorry. So how is it for you coming from this? Because I know that you would do like a lot of compositions, like
Yeah,
for
yeah,
license-free music, um, and you know that's kind of
yeah.
your other job,
Less so
right?
nowadays, but
So
you know, when you're a musician, as I'm sure you know, it's like you have to find a lot of revenue streams. You know, you have to find any possible way to earn from your art. So I've taught. I was teaching in a university for many years. I've done a lot of composing work for various things like film trailers and all kinds of stuff. But you have to compartmentalize a little bit, and you have to try to remember.
yeah,
You have to try to retain the sense of the the passion. Like you kind of have to be like a 16-year-old holding his guitar and just wanting to make music, and you have to keep that when you're making music that you actually care about. You know, if we're working on Mayhem stuff, that's the mind I need, not the corporate, you know, oh, this is how it should be, and this is how, you know, this is the length of time it should be, and this is how it's going to work. You have to be able to retain that sense of being a fan, basically, a music fan. Music fans make the best music writers because you're trying to emulate things that you love and you're passionate about. So I think it's a very important thing to be able to compartmentalize. I'm not doing so much of that stuff now because I'm too busy. The band is just, of course, everyone's busy now.
sure,
Now that the restrictions have lifted, you know, and the government's allowed us to go out of our houses again, everyone's touring, everyone's busy, everyone's doing things. And so there's no time to think about anything else right now. It's about getting the band on, well, we are back on track and keeping it there and just keeping the momentum. Because, you know, we released an album and then everyone got locked up for 2 years, right at the point where we were at this incredible momentum and everything was going great. So we're sort of trying to get ourselves back onto that track again from where we were in the end of 2019. There's a lot of work and there's not much time for anything else. It's not much brain space for anything else. Yeah.
right. Which I just got to add the reception for when Demon came out. It has to be said that that is easily one of the biggest milestones for Mayhem.
I think so. I think so.
Maybe since like an older, you know,
Yeah.
the older lineup.
I think that there was something that just happened with that album that was all of us. You know, this band is for us all to be on the same page in anything is incredible. Like it's just it's Mayhem by name, but also it's, you know, it's a description of the process. Like, but we all kind of felt we were on something with that album. So it was really nice when it actually came out to realize that other people also felt the same thing. You know, it had a good reception. And you know, when you're a musician, or I assume any kind of artist, that praise doesn't mean very much unless you believe it yourself. Unless you're a complete narcissist. Like, praise only means something if you think it's valid or warranted, you know. And with this album, there was a sense that we just felt like we did something honest. You know, it's not like we were all sitting around thinking, "Wow, this is the greatest thing anyone's ever done," and we're geniuses. But we just felt like it was an honest representation of something. So when people responded to it and seemed to be on the same level, it was extremely rewarding. Um, but yeah, it was kind of like a return to, you know, of course, with a band like Mayhem, anything you do, people are going to reference the mysteries. That's just how it is. People are always going to say the blah blah blah, like the mysteries or whatever, right? But this album definitely had the atmosphere of the mysteries. It wasn't the same album. It wasn't like part two or any of this kind of stupid shit. But it had
Yeah.
the same. I don't know what the right word is exactly. Vibe, but there was something. There was a connection between the two albums. It was clearly a very different musically and very different composers involved and different era and everything. But there was a connection. There was a clear through line from that album to this, and it was kind of deliberate. But at no point, actually, we were very very clear. We didn't want to do The Mysteries Part 2. Like, that was always the thing. We don't want to try to do that because it would be stupid, it would be insulting, and it would be pointless. You know, you can't recapture old glories, especially when half the people involved, well, 2/5 of the people involved weren't involved in the original. But you can at least take
Right.
the sense of reverence for that and try to inject it in, and that's what we did. And I think people got that mostly. I think, you know, our fans are quite precious sometimes, and you know, so there are certain Mayhem fans. Whatever we do now is wrong. Fine, I get it, but for the most part, I think that album was what we intended it to be. Let's put it that way.
You can definitely pick up some remnants of, you know, of the older influences kind of seeping through there, but I think Demon really solidifies the current lineup, the current songwriters. It for me personally, it really reestablished the band for the first time in a long time.
I mean, you hit the nail on the head there when you say it sort of establishes the lineup, because we've been together now for over 10 years. And this, I think, was the first point where we really got to. We're a great band, and I mean that in a non-narcissistic sense. I mean, just objectively, we play together really well, and all the musicians involved are very good. And you know, with a band like this, there's a huge amount of personality involved, so it takes some time for it to gel properly. And we're there now. I think we played together extremely well. It's something I'm very proud to be part of, you know, as a musician. And I think that this album was the first time the Mysteries live album was also like this, but this is something else. It's the first time we really got to sort of show we could, you know, yes, we are a good band, and we can do something of value as a unit. So it's great to hear that translates to other people. I mean, it's not, of course, it's best that we feel like that, but it's nice that other people also agree with us.
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. And I also want to add, I personally enjoy the dichotomy between you and T-Lock, where he's more raw, not doesn't have the formal training that you do, and the two styles just kind of come together, but seem to complement each other very well.
There's different types of education, and there's different types of there's this strange thing where it's like people are proud to claim their lack of education, but however, whatever time you spend inside an art is part of your education. There's this 10,000 hour theory that that's how many hours it takes to become a master of something. Well, it doesn't matter if you do that in a schoolroom or a textbook or a stage or your bedroom writing riffs. It's the same work. It's just approached from a different dynamic. So I think that when you have a band, it's a really good thing if everyone in the band is coming from different angles, because everyone's going to bring a different aspect of the art and a different approach and a different perspective. And it just, no one's infallible. So everyone's going to miss something. Everyone's going to see something in a slightly skewed way. And so the more perspectives you have, the more likely you are to arrive at something that everyone can appreciate, or not everyone, but a good percentage of people will appreciate. And I think this band is a good example of that, because no one in this band is even really similar as a person, which is again mayhem, right? But that's good. It's good sometimes. Right. It's not always good, but from a creative point of view, I think it's great.
So kind of sticking with the theme of dichotomy here, when focusing on you personally as well, when did your interest, or what came first, your interest in heavier music or your love of like scores and composition?
It's an interesting point. They overlap very heavily, because I have this thing. I don't think it's unique to me, but it seems to be quite unusual that I don't really hear the sound, the context of music. I just hear the content of it. So for me, it's like, it doesn't matter if it's like a brass band or a metal band or whatever. I only focus on the tones, the notes. Does that make sense? So I suppose the reason I got into music in the first place was because of John Williams. The Star Wars scores is, to me, still one of the great human achievements. It's like it, when I hear, well, not just the Star Wars scores, but mainly that, but of course, all of the stuff, Indiana Jones, E.T., all these incredible pieces of sound art that he's created. It just made me aware that music can do things to people. It can make you feel things. It can take you places. And so I suppose it started there. And then I started to hear things like Grieg and Tchaikovsky and stuff that I thought was like, wow, this is fucking heavy. This is like, and Wagner. And then I heard, Emperor and Enslaved, and it was the same feeling. It was the same thing. Different instruments, different context, different sound, but the same soul behind the music. So I suppose it started with the scores, but when I was about 13, I discovered Emperor, and then that took me on the guitar route.
Sure.
But it's always been very much. It's the soul of the sound. It's not the instruments or the context or the presentation. It's just what it is. And I think that honestly, if someone like Wagner had been born now, probably he would be doing something insane, like some like crazy 10 guitar band, or I don't know, but it would be recognizable, let's say. It would still be, it would still have that soul. And if you listen to like the Anthems album by Emperor, you can hear Wagner in there. You can hear Grieg in there. You can hear this timeless expression of humanity that you that's the point of music to me.
Yeah, which I I do like the fact that Emperor happened to be the sort of catalyst there, because I mean it. If you're somebody who is a fan of scores and orchestrations and things like that, it's a pretty good gateway.
Absolutely.
Into
I mean,
heavier,
that guy. I mean, that whole band is phenomenal. But Isan, Vegard, whatever, he is one of the main reasons that I picked up the guitar in the first place, and one of the main reasons that I got interested in composition, because I realized, like, wow, you can use this sound to do the thing that I am interested in. Like, you don't have to be a concert pianist. You can express this high, I would call high art, although that sounds a bit wanky, but like high art, you can do that in this context, you know.
No,
so,
I get it.
Yeah,
I get it. And I always, to my understanding, from at least what I remember from a really in-depth interview with him, I mean, he wasn't classically trained or anything like that. Everything was just strictly just him getting ideas out.
very likely, but he knows what he's doing. You know, that's for sure.
Yeah.
You know, my schooling was kind of backwards, because I'm still I think any musician who values their art is always learning. Like, there's no end of the road. You know what I mean? You're never there. So I've learned a lot of stuff later. But the thing is, people are scared of the idea of being schooled in music because they think it's going to ruin their creativity, or you know, destroy which is fucking stupid, because it's like saying I want to be a great Russian author, but I don't want to learn Russian because that would like destroy my natural creativity, and like, you know, it doesn't make any sense. There is an element of truth to it, because yes, some people get sucked into the theory thing and then they can't break out of it. But I don't remember who it was, but there was some famous jazz musician who said that you should learn all the music theory you can just so you can forget it. And that's absolutely true. You learn it so that it just becomes part of your understanding of what you're doing, but you don't let it dictate to you. You know, you still just play with the same heart that you did when you just first picked up an instrument and was like, okay, that's a cool riff. You know, you should always be working with that zero mind. But the theory and the knowledge, it just saves time, because you just know why and how things will work, won't work, or shouldn't work, but will work in this context. And still, you're going to be surprised. You're going to try things. You'll be like, well, that's just nonsense. It doesn't make any theoretical sense, but it sounds great, so I'm going to use it. You know, so yeah.
Right. Well, it's basically just expanding your vocabulary, which if someone's a writer, you know, they're still going to tell either the story or express out in their writing, you know,
of course. And it's like the monkeys at the typewriter thing. It's like, yeah, you know, stick an infinite number of monkeys in front of an infinite number of typewriters. Eventually, one of them will come up with a page of Shakespeare. But do you want to be one of those, or do you want to have some control over your art? Like, do you want everything you do be accidentally good, or do you want to actually know why you're doing it and have some expressive control over what you're doing? That's my idea. It's not about being like an academic, because that's also stupid. But it's about just taking control of your art and having pride in what you do.
Was kind of another harkening back. Was the guitar your first choice for an instrument?
Originally I wanted to be a keyboard player or pianist. And I can play a bit, enough to sit down with like a score and figure out the voicings and stuff, which I think is a really important thing for everyone to be able to do, actually, because it humanizes music when you listen to a John Williams if you listen to something like the Trench Attack or whatever it's called from the first Star Wars film. That's an absolutely immense piece of music. I mean, every bar in that is basically an album's worth of material. But when you sit down and you work it on the keyboard, it humanizes it because you can see like, oh fuck, he's just doing that. Like, you know, you can see, oh, he's just moving his finger there. There's no like grand theoretical thing behind this. He's just literally found a voicing that's close to this voicing. And so you can understand music better, I think, if you can see it on a keyboard. So I'm glad I started like that. But of course, when I hit like 12, 13 and the hormones kicked in, I was like, no, I want to be a guitar player. You know, I need to stand, you know, I need the girls to see me, you know.
Yeah. It's definitely a bit
But in
more
the same way, I wish
but
I'd kind of stuck on the other thing because now I, I mean, I love playing guitar, don't get me wrong, but I sort of miss the fact I didn't go further into play. I would never have been a great pianist, but it's just such a beautiful way to understand music. The keyboard is just so clear and so obvious. You can see the harmony working. You can see exactly how everything is moving. You know, so whatever. I made my choice.
I do get it though. It's whenever I was going to music school, I mean, it was a required class, you know, piano. It lays everything out in front of you, nice and neat. I still to this day have an easier time reading sheet music or sight reading
Mhm.
on a piano better than a guitar. And I've been playing guitar, you know, for about 15 years at this point, and piano just dabble with
No, I
it,
mean,
you
like
know?
sight reading is really something that I think is so valuable for any musician to do. Not for the practice of doing it, but because it just helps you to understand the mechanics of what it is that's happening. You know, it's not, again, it's not this sort of wanky academic, you should do this and should do that. It really helps you
Sure.
to understand the natural motion of music, how it moves and how it flows. And like I said, you know, with the John Williams stuff, you hear it and you think, how the fuck did someone come up with this? And then you see it on a keyboard and you're like, oh right, he's just doing this. That's how he came up with it. You know, it's literally he had a voicing and then he just moved two fingers and then he had another voicing. He wasn't thinking, oh, what I should do is like make a Lydian dominant thing here. And no, he wasn't doing that at all. He was like, well, that sounds good. Good.
I feel like the epitome of doing just what sounds good, regardless of whether it makes sense in a theory context, it would probably be somebody like Danny Elfman.
Well, no, I mean,
where
actually, his musically, it's really basic. The stuff that he does. I mean, if you compare it, okay, I'm not gonna. I realize I'm being a bit of a John Williams fanboy here, but the Elfman stuff, I love it. I mean, I love the stuff, even like the Oingo Boingo stuff, like before he was doing the you know the cinematic stuff. I think it's fantastic, and I love. There's a few of his scores. Like Edward Scissorhands is absolutely super. It's like a genre defining score. It's like this dark fairy tale thing. Yeah, but but from a musical point of view, it's quite basic. It's quite simple. That's not a criticism at all, because I didn't make it. He did. You know, I've got there's no position that I have to judge it, but it's very, let's say academically, it's very easy to explain. It's very simple. You know, it's like thirds moving and this chord doesn't work with this chord, so we'll put that chord with this chord. You know, it's the whole thing of like you learn the rules so you can break them. So that's what he's doing. He's breaking the harmonic rules. But yeah, it's brilliant. I mean, it's I love it. He's written some of the best film scores of all time.
I have to agree. And I'm going to have the Beetlejuice theme.
Yeah, and what was that? What was the TV series that he did? Was it?
He did.
No, I'm thinking Tales from the Crypt. Did he? Was that what I'm thinking of? I know he did some. I think that's what it is. It was so good. It was so kitschy and so like, it was absolutely brilliant. I think it was
Yeah.
Tales from the Crypt, but maybe I'm wrong. Yeah,
I'll- no, I could hear
yeah,
it
it's
though.
running.
Now that you say
Basically I
that.
hear it when I'm sleeping. It's just so catchy and so perfect for what it was. It was absolutely brilliant. Um, and you know, going back to like my old work, like if you listen to some of the old Cradle of Filth stuff, for sure, there's some Elfman, let's say, influenced in there. You know,
Yeah.
but he has a slightly sort of comedic aspect to his scores. They're sort of tongue in cheek. It's like it's horror, but it's not really horror. You know, it's like cartoon
Yeah.
horror, which is actually quite a difficult tightrope to walk because you know to get that right is very difficult. But he absolutely nails it.
Yeah. No, that uh, I think watching like Beetlejuice and Night Before Christmas and stuff when I was like a kid and getting that influence, it kind of shaped my taste in a lot. Well, I guess several different things. Really, it's probably why I
Mhm.
love stuff like Evil Dead now.
Yeah.
You know, it has
I
that.
mean, Nightmare Before Christmas is
It's
probably
such a weird, dark
if
sense
we
of
were to
humor.
list like
What is it?
50 pivotal pieces of cinema of all time, it would have to be in there.
Yeah.
It's astonishing. It's just
Right.
such an incredible piece of art. It's the sound, the look, everything about it is just so perfect and so. And also, like, okay, when do you watch that? Halloween or Christmas?
I kind of
I
prefer
agree.
Christmas, but I
No, but
have
it's
watched
like that's the
Halloween
real
too.
question because
I don't know.
what is it? Is it a Halloween movie or is it a Christmas movie?
I, well, I guess it mainly would have to be a Christmas movie,
I
wouldn't it?
think so.
Because they're
Yeah.
done with
I
Halloween, right?
agree.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty
Yeah.
contentious. People get pretty angry about
Um,
this. You know, it's one or the other. So, but I
yeah.
would say I would agree with you. I think it's a Christmas movie.
Yeah, it's a bunch of Halloween characters trying to mess
Right.
up or take over Christmas. Yeah. Well, let me see here. I know we're kind of
I'm all
getting
right.
up there on time.
Yeah,
Do you
yeah.
have time for? You're good. Okay, awesome. Which, by the way, if anybody has any questions that they would like to ask, feel free to submit them down below. But so are you still endorsed with ESP
Yeah, I am.
guitars? I know
Yeah.
that was your last video.
Speaking of which, I think my endorsement rolls around about now, so I should contact them and see what's up with that. No,
Oh,
they've been so good to me. Um, and of course, the guitars, the quality speaks for itself. There's nothing I need to add on that, but they have really did. I've been using the EC 1000, the Les Paul thing, and the MH 1001. Those are the two guitars I've been using, and they're just they're like workhorses. You know, they play so great, they sound so great, but they just don't age. Like they don't damage. They the tuning is great. Like it's like a musician's dream playing these things because you don't have to worry about anything. The electronics are solid, the tuning is solid, the intonation, everything. So fantastic. So yeah, like I said, the contract's rolling around soon. I think that was a pretty good endorsement. So you know, if anyone from ESP is listening, uh, but yeah, they you know the thing is because of the EMGs, you get this consistent live tone. You never have to worry about your tone because it is what it is. You know what I mean? Like you know what it's going to sound like when you get it out of the box like an EMG. This is how it's going to sound. It's a slightly compressed feel. Although I don't know. I feel like the EMGs now are less. How to say it? They don't sound as compressed as they used to back in the day. Like they seem to be more like I really love passive pickups. I love the way that the pick responds to, the pickup responds to the pick. Like, you know what I mean? But I feel like active pickups,
Yeah.
the guitars I've got now, I don't know if the technology's changed or what the fuck has happened, but I feel more in control of the tone than I used to way back when I used to use EMGs.
Do you know which model
I
of
have absolutely no
EMGs
idea.
are in your guitars?
No, I don't know.
Yeah.
I, I know shockingly little about the technology behind the instruments that I play. Um,
Yeah. Because they do have a couple sets out now. If it's one of the EMGs that actually have
right.
like pull pieces that stick out, they got the 5766 set, which is like their way of trying to make like an
Okay.
8160
Okay.
sound a little bit more passive. And then there's the James Hetfield set is really popular. I think it kind of does the same thing, but
Okay.
maybe a little
But
bit
I don't
more.
know. It's probably something I should know. Honestly, I've never been that guy. Like, I've never been a guitar nerd. I've never known that much about what I'm doing in terms of the mechanics of how it works or anything like that. Uh, it just doesn't interest me enough. You know, I like what I said to you earlier about how when I hear music, I just hear the notes, the sound. It's the
Sure.
same with a guitar. Like, I know if it feels nice, I know if it sounds good, and I just don't have the brain capacity to hold the information. My guy, the guitar tech that we use for most, well, for at least all the Euro shows, a Polish guy, Michał. That guy knows. I mean, that guy's a fucking genius when it comes to this stuff. And especially now that I've got him, I need to know even less. Like, just like guitar sound wrong, fix, and it comes back perfect. So yeah, it's just that's not my thing, you know.
Right. I mean, makes it easier for sure.
You just have to play your strengths
Some
basically,
I,
and I'm just not.
sure.
I'm not a tech head. I'm never going to be. You know, there's
I have to, which it's hard because I'm running a gear page, but I personally really have to make a mental note to try not to let myself miss the point. You know what I mean? Like I was
right.
accumulating quite a bit of gear, and it got to a point to where I was like, okay, what was the last thing I wrote?
Yeah.
You know what
I
I
know.
mean? And
But, I mean,
so, I purged a little bit and got a Kemper, and it's kind of helped me focus a little bit more. And I'm actually writing music, and I'm not just. I mean, I have some like pedals and stuff that I'm getting sent for demos, but other than that, I'm actually
well, that's
focusing on
great.
writing music again.
You know, for me, the more tone choices I have, the worse it is for me creatively because I just sit and fuck around with patches. You know, and it's a really fun thing to do, as you know. Like, you just sit and you're like, wow,
Yeah.
that sounds cool. Like, oh, that's fucking cool. And you do like 150 of those. Like, a month has gone by, you've done nothing productive whatsoever except rate the patches in order of like how cool they are. Um, for me,
Sure.
I'm kind of the opposite with that. Like, I need the fewest parameters possible, and then I'll do something. Like, give me a stick and like a reverb, and then I'll do something musical with it. But give me like a unit that has thousands of possible combinations of patches, and I'm not going to do anything.
Yeah. I'm trying to have that same mentality. Like obviously the Kemper is like an
Yeah, and
endless
it's amazing as
possibility,
well.
right?
It sounds absolutely phenomenal.
Oh yeah. There's one guy that I'm getting all of my profiles through, so I'm kind of eliminating
Yeah.
the rabbit hole a
No,
little
I mean,
bit with that.
restrictions are really good. Like, you can
And
say to yourself, okay, I'm gonna
yeah,
I'm gonna do something, and I'm only gonna use these two tones. or like I'm only going to use this scale or these
Yeah.
5 notes or whatever. I think that's a way better way to be creative than to just go like, well, here's like a guitar, and here's a thing that makes any sound from that guitar, make some music.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Or if you're jamming with somebody, like, okay, what are they playing? All right, I just have to match that. I don't really care what I'm using. I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't want to think about the name or any of that. I just need to try to make it sound kind of like
Absolutely.
what
The sound is king. We're musicians, right? So the only really valuable source of information that we have or source of feedback is what does it sound like? That's it. Does it sound good? Or it doesn't even have to sound good, but like, does it do something? Like, because sometimes things can sound horrible and it's still art. But that's the only guide we should use. It's not like, oh, is this in the right scale, or does this note work with this chord, or is this the tone that Van Halen used on this album? It's like, no, it's like, is it doing the thing that you mean it to do in this moment? That's the point.
Right.
Yeah.
Got a couple questions here in the chat too. There was a really good one earlier, but real quick, what's up with Buckfist? Everyone. Okay. I kept saying that in the chat, so I had to ask real fast. Somebody asked earlier, a really good one. They asked, what is a film score that you personally would like to rewrite, or you'd like to change?
Wow. I think basically any film score written after 2002 could be done better. I wouldn't. Yeah. I'm not saying. Well, okay, that I would personally rewrite. I don't know, because I'm not saying I would do a better job, but I just think that the golden age of film scores is long past. Nowadays, it's like 20-year-old nephews of the producer doing a bunch of like trailer music, but just expand into whole movies. And it's like, a film score back in the day used to be a long narrative, like evolving themes and music that would create upon itself. And nowadays it's like, here's an idea, here's it a little bit louder, here's the same idea louder again, here is it really loud, and now it's quiet again, but it's the same idea, and now it's really loud, and it's like, fucking hell, man, you got paid like, what, 200 grand for this? Do some fucking work.
It's and somebody just asked in the chat as well. It's kind of the Hans Zimmer.
Okay, I don't want to talk about Hans Zimmer because I don't like being negative about people that are more successful than me. I think it comes off as sort of bitter and poisonous. But let's just say, in the old days, Hans Zimmer would not have even been allowed into the studio to make the coffee for someone like John Williams. And leave it there.
I can get that.
The Gladiator score, great.
He's
he's
done some really good scores. I think he just gets picked up for jobs. Like
he has a team of people basically doing the jobs for him. I mean, like I said, I'm not like, the guy's way more successful than I will ever be as a musician. So I've got nothing to say about him. He's done some stuff that I really like, by the way. It's just that, one bar of John Williams is like 10 scores by Hans Zimmer in terms of musical content. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, because different things serve different functions. And he's done some amazing stuff that no one else could have done. So it's not I'm not here to. I'm not trying to like give a critique of this far more successful musician, but it's just for me. It just it's not. It doesn't really do anything for me in the same way. Let's say.
Sure. Right. Which, you know,
Or rather, let me rephrase that. What you said, the Hans Zimmer effect is the problem that I have. It's like you just take it, you go, and then you just build that and build, and you just get louder and louder and louder and louder, and that's the score. Okay, I'm pretty sure you could program an AI to do that and save a fortune in composer fees, especially for Marvel movies.
yeah. Well, that's the thing is there's a million Hans
Yeah,
Zimmer
and why
clones
would
out
fuck?
there now.
Well, of course, I know why you would want to be that. Because to be a John Williams clone, you're going to have to spend 40 years studying, working. So, of course, it's easier to just learn how to make things really loud. But you're not going to be a Hans Zimmer clone because he's a one of a kind thing. Like he's a phenomenon. He does his thing. It's not something that I personally enjoy that much, but there's no question that it's incredible. Like it's a force. And like I said, he's done some amazing stuff over the years and some fantastic scores. It's just for me not as consistent in like musically. And he seems like a really interesting guy as well. Seems like a really sort of like he's if I was going to have a beer with him or John Williams, I would choose Hans Zimmer. But if I was going to go for like a music lesson, I would go to John Williams.
Sure, absolutely. Sorry, I haven't had a lot of guests that I've been able to talk like scores and composition and stuff with, so I feel like I probably
I don't mind. We can talk about whatever
on that. But we'll make it about black metal and heavy and evil stuff again here in a minute, guys. I promise. One last kind of score question. I've always liked
Okay,
westerns,
like Morricone and
since I was a kid. Yeah, well, there's a pretty substantial difference with your traditional big budget American westerns. Your John Wayne movies that have these big lush orchestras and all this money thrown at them, and versus the spaghetti western, which I almost tend to favor now as an adult. You have like the good, the bad, and the ugly.
That's
where it's like
it's like something from another dimension. It's so even now it's hard to imagine a composer coming up with these sounds, these ideas. It's that.
Talk about
it's innovative to the point where it's almost alien. Yeah, but it's not about the instrumentation. It's not about the orchestration. It's not about the budget. If you told Picasso, draw a stick man with this pencil and this piece of paper, it's going to be the best fucking stick man you've ever seen. So give a great composer 3 instruments. It's going to be the greatest example of those 3 instruments you ever heard. Art is not. This is the big mistake that composers or musicians make nowadays, because you can open up Logic, you can import a bunch of samples, and you can create an orchestra. That doesn't make you a composer. It doesn't make you good at, just because it sounds amazing because you made it really loud and all the instruments are playing the same note. It's like this big, that doesn't make a good composition. A great composition works on a piano as well as it does on a like the Ecstasy of Gold. Play that on a piano, it's amazing. Star Wars theme, play that on a piano, it's amazing. Any Marvel movie in the last fucking 15 years, play that on a piano, it sounds like garbage because without the samples backing it up and all this ridiculous production on top, it's nothing. There's no music there.
There might be like you said, it's almost like a bunch of just a bunch of sound effects and stings, with maybe every now and then one like little hook
but it's
melody,
like it's also
just to be like,
it's
oh, well,
lazy
it's a
melody.
theme.
Like if you ever look at
Very.
how many different melodies a great composer worked on before arriving on the one that was actually used for the thing. Like you look at like Star Wars, Indiana Jones, E.T. He had like hundreds of melodies, hundreds of them before arriving. Like, okay, this is the one. You know, this is the thing. But when you've got big samples, big like huge production, it's like, oh, I want like 20 horns. Like, okay, fine, you can have 20 horns. It's a Marvel movie. You can have whatever you want. You don't need to write good music. It just has to be loud and huge, and you know, it doesn't have to work on a piano because it's not music anymore. It's like it's not cinema anymore. It's just like what was it that Scorsese said about Marvel films? They're basically like a theme park ride.
Sure.
And I get what he means because it's not cinema. It's not like watching Taxi Driver or you know, it's something else. It's like it's an experience. To call it art is a bit of a stretch, though.
I agree. I'm horribly burnt out on comic book movies. Every now and then,
Joker,
something will pop up that gets my attention.
Joker.
Huh? I would say Joker was really good. I feel like it could have been anything
I
else.
think for me, Joker is like
that's the thing, it's
the
one of those
modern
movies-
Taxi Driver. It was like a homage to that movie. It was the breakdown of a person's psyche. It's so rare that you get to see actual character studies in cinema nowadays because you know you have to keep the camera on one shot for more than 3 seconds, and you can't put in like a bunch of CGI monsters and shit. Like you actually have to have actors who can act and writers who can write. And for me, that was I'd kind of given up on cinema until I saw that movie, and I was like, okay, there's still something left here. And the score was amazing as well.
Yeah.
It was not like a traditional music. It was like I can't remember the name of the guy. I think he's Icelandic, the composer. I might be getting that wrong, but I just remember it was such a great score because it was so perfect to the collapse of this guy's psyche and the way the world just pressed him down. Yeah, I think it was great. Apparently, there's going to be a sequel. I don't know what they're going to do with that because
I heard that it's going to be a musical.
Okay.
Well, when I first heard that, my reaction was like, I thought they were just fucking with me. I kind of get the joke, the inside joke, if they do make it a musical, with just how music.
But who the fuck is going to write that music?
Music. Hopefully, the same guy
maybe
that worked on the first movie, but like I kind of get the theme and the joke carrying over from the first movie because that was such a prevalent, ongoing thing with him where he would just they'd have music playing.
Yeah, it could work. Actually, it could work. I kind of trust the director because he seems to be someone who he legitimately understands his art and the way that the world is evolving around his art. He said, because it was the same guy that did the Hangover movies, right? I think so.
Is it?
Look it up. I can't put my phone down, but I'm pretty sure it was.
I wasn't gonna...
And he said something along the lines of, "You can't make a comedy now," and he's right. Like you couldn't make the Hangover movies now because there's actual jokes, and jokes offend people. You can't have that. I mean,
you know what? Now that you mention it, I'm trying to remember what the last comedy that I actually enjoy
Well, I like
was
the last Dave Chappelle
like actual.
special and the
Well, I mean, like
well,
actual
no,
feature
but
film
because they
kind of
can't make
thing.
them anymore because jokes. Some people could be offended by a joke, so we can't have that, right? I mean, offending someone is like the worst possible thing you can do.
Let me see here. Oh my
Okay,
God, it
well,
is the Hangover
good.
guy. Wow,
Yeah,
interesting. Oh, and he did Road
yeah.
Trip,
So, but this
Old
is the thing, right? So
School.
he's done a bunch of comedies, and then he suddenly
Wow.
creates this incredible,
Yeah.
dark, and incisive character study because he was pissed
Yeah.
off. He was, because
Yeah.
he can't make comedies anymore. You can't make a comedy with like edgy jokes because what can you joke about? It's 2022. What can you make a joke about that isn't going to end up with, the police, especially like in the UK? You'll get. There was a guy recently, comedian, and someone called the police whilst they were on stage because of a joke they made, and the police investigated it.
Do you remember what the joke was?
I mean, thank God all the murders have been solved.
Wow.
Otherwise, that would be a massive waste of public time and money.
Do you remember
No,
what
I
the
didn't
joke
see it.
was
I
or
just saw the
anything?
thing. I can imagine what it was because there's
Sure.
certain protected classes in society that you're not allowed to make jokes about. So I can imagine what it's about. But this is a real problem for art in general because black metal is not exactly
Yeah.
like family friendly. So how long? And metal in general, it's like the Satanic Panic of the 80s. How long before we get another one of those? But now it's not Christians. That's not the religion anymore. Now it's like this other weird religion, which is this sort of like I don't know. I don't like to use the word woke because it's a bit cliched, but it's this. It's a different religion. This religion of sort of like political purity. You know.
Well,
Yeah.
it's the
Yeah.
flip
Yeah. Yeah.
side of
It
it,
is exactly.
like it.
So now it's like, but we've
Yeah,
got, so
like
now we
it
have
was.
this new inquisitor, this new kind of Spanish Inquisition on everything you do. Like, oh, you said this thing in 2001 that isn't in line with the views that are now accepted to be the correct views. So will you make a statement on this, or should we just like delete your bank account and career history and take you off Spotify? It's like, what the fuck? What is this?
So, how does this is a good transition back to talking about Mayhem. Uh, how, as a band, how do you guys kind of go about it? Like, what is the band's general mentality trying to move and navigate? Because everyone kind of knows the
Honestly,
band's history at this
there's no
point.
plan. There's no navigation because that would be a compromise. Whatever we would try to do would be a compromise, and that would be antithesis to what this band is. We just do what we do, and some people like us, some people hate us. All right, whatever. You know, we're not. It's not a political band. Never has been. If people want to drag politics in, that's their prerogative. But we're not interested. We have nothing to say politically. That's not what this band is about. There's been loads of fucking things that have happened over the years, as I'm sure you're very aware, and most people are aware. But that's not relevant to the music, to the art, and the people who create it. Everyone in the band is like, I mean, we're not like the average person you would meet working as a cashier at the supermarket. Like, everyone is kind of on the edge. There's no bad people in the band. Yeah, things have been said and done over the years which maybe weren't particularly admirable, let's say. But that's past. Past is past. People change, people evolve, people move, and basically fuck off. Like, you don't like it, okay, whatever. I mean, I probably don't like you either. It's not important. It's not important to us if you like us. That's not the kind of people we are. It's not the kind of band we are. We are not, like I say, we're not a political band. There's no stance. There's no position to be had on any of this stuff. It's just not. That's how we navigate it. We just don't. We don't get involved. It's easy. The moment you get involved on either side, you alienate 50% of your audience. You know, if you come out and you start preaching like conservative values, well, that's 50% of the people you just pissed off. And the other way around, 50% of the people you've pissed off. Why would you do that? That's not what the music's about. If you're a political band, fair enough. You know, if you're like Rage Against the Machine and you, for some reason, think communism is great despite the 100 million people who've been killed by it, fine, right? That's your position. But we're not a political band. We've got nothing to do with politics. We've got nothing to do with any of this stuff. We're not interested in like race, politics, any of this shit. That's not the point of the music that we're making. It's not the point of the people making the music. We don't give a shit about any of that.
Yeah. So, kind of steering that same mentality into the writing for Mayhem. How would you describe the overall general theme that you guys try to go for? Is it, I mean, obviously with a film score, you're going to have a point. There's going to be, you're telling a story. With Mayhem, it might not be about dynamically trying to tell a story, but would you think maybe just trying to embody chaos?
That's actually a really interesting question. I think that it's like a feeling you're trying to capture with it. It's not. So yeah, okay. So Attila sometimes he's recently come with his bunch of lyrics, which are really cool, and that puts you in a certain place. You read these lyrics and you have a certain feeling. It's a little bit like, I suppose you could say it's like scoring a film, because you're trying to find a feeling that matches this thing. But yeah, there is a, I think it's about finding, it's really hard to explain, but you just know, like you'll be playing something and you'll just know. You might come up with a really cool idea and you'll record it and, you know, play it around a bit and whatever. And the next day you listen and you think, it's not Mayhem. It's not somehow. It's great, but it's not. It doesn't fit. So there's, you know, Mayhem is like an entity. It's like an organic thing. It's something else from everyone involved. It's like it's its own spirit. And you sort of know instinctively if it fits, if it works, if it's in that world, if it's in that universe, you know. So it's kind of like that a bit. And sometimes you have an idea and you're so sure of it, you send it to the other guys and they're like, eh. And then of course you're like massively deflated for a while, and then you listen back a week later and you think, yeah, no, it wasn't what I thought it was.
Yeah. It's always something really interesting to me, because every time I've ever tried to do a band, one thing that was really important for me was to try to figure out what the band sounded like. What makes this song sound like?
I think that's where bands have problems, especially when they get really successful on the first album, because in the second album, they're trying to do that again. But on the first album, they weren't trying to do anything. They were just doing what they thought was cool. But then that was successful. Now it's like, oh, we have to do that again. We have to make it cool. You know, we have to make this sound again, which is suicide. You know, creatively, you should never do that. Creatively, ultimately, I think the best thing that any musician could ever do is just do like an album and then a different project every single time. Like never do the same, because it's very, very rare that a band can keep capitalizing. I mean, you have a band like Metallica, Kill 'Em All, great. Ride the Lightning, great, but completely different. Master of Puppets, completely different, great. Justice for All, great. You know, it was like consistently great, but different in sort of degrees. And then of course started to
Right.
go a little.
Yeah.
But it's very, very hard to when you have those kinds of parameters. When you like, I mean, writing for Mayhem is a really scary process because it's a band with such a legacy and such a
Right.
fan base who expect so much, and rightly so, because a lot of the people into this band have been into this band for decades. So anytime that you're trying to create anything for this band, you're always aware of the fact that the people who are waiting for it have invested huge amounts into it. So you can't just knock it out. You can't just be like, oh yeah, that's a cool riff. We can just loop that for 3 minutes. And, you know, you have to really feel it. You have to respect it. And that's it's quite a responsibility, actually, to have. And it's not really a responsibility that I think I'm comfortable with. And no one should be comfortable with it. I mean, you should always feel stressed by it. You should always feel pressured by it, because the fans deserve your best work. They deserve your honest art. You know,
Yeah.
they earned it from their commitment to the band over all these years. And you know, okay, I've been here for what, like 11 years. Well, that's nothing compared to some of the people listening to the band. So, you know, it's yeah, it's a big responsibility, actually.
If somebody really wanted to analyze a band, or even themselves in their writing, they could probably pick out repetitive themes and things like that. Like, well, they tend to favor this kind of chord progression, or these scales, or this kind of modulation of key changes to this, and things like that. But I think, like you said, most people, they just know.
I mean,
they just know.
You can do that with black metal. Root fifth, flat six. That's the harmonically. That's it. That's the entire genre, basically. But yeah, you're right. You can feel the authenticity or the inauthenticity very easily, especially if you really care about the music. It's just a sense, like you just feel it. You can get like a playlist, and you can be listening through a ton of bands, and of course they all sound basically the same, and then something will just jump out at you, and they're not doing anything differently harmonically, but it's just something. Like there's this band, The Secret, that a friend of mine introduced me to recently, and I was like, fuck, this band is good. Like there's something in this band that is just hitting me just right. And there's nothing innovative harmonically or you know, but there's a vibe in what they're doing that's just so perfect and so authentic, and like it's like a primal thing. I was just, this is fucking amazing. Like it's fantastic, but I couldn't describe to you why it's better than anything else that I was listening to around the same time. It's just maybe it's I don't know, maybe it's something that there isn't a language for yet.
Yeah. As you were sitting there describing it, I immediately got flashbacks to when, I was studying jazz, and I was getting to listen to all these phenomenal musicians doing jazz, doing classical, opera, all this stuff at school. And then, on the weekends, I'd be going to go see some local punk bands play in somebody's living room, and enjoying it just as much.
Because, I mean, you really think that, like, for example, Beethoven, you think that he was just like a normal guy, that, like, he was a fuck up. Like, of course. Like music, art is made by fuck ups. It doesn't matter if you're a punk, if you're a classical composer, if like the really true art doesn't come from the people in suits who are telling you, oh yeah, this is how this is the way this music works, and yeah, okay, fine, it's useful to know, but that's not how it's created. It's created from the soul. You know, it's like the Sex Pistols and Haydn, or like yeah, of course, there's different levels of academia and blah blah blah, but the soul of the creation is the same. It's like an energy to make something. So, you know, you come from like a working class background and you've never been educated, you're poor as fuck, and you make a band. If you've got that soul of creation, okay, you might not write a symphony, but you're going to make something that makes people feel something. You're gonna create something that people can engage with. And so musical snobbery is I have no time for that at all. I mean, I'm a snob, but not in that sense. I'm a snob in terms of quality, not in terms of
Sure.
where it comes from or how it's created. I'm a snob in terms of like, do you actually mean it? That's where my snobbery comes from. Like, yeah, okay, it's brilliant. Like, here's your PhD, but it sounds like garbage.
And I think most people can tell when something's genuine or not right away. It almost becomes like an uncanny valley.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
The listener.
You're right. It's actually, when music is almost great, it's almost more uncomfortable than when it's just complete garbage. Like when it's nearly there, but you can just feel it's not quite, like the vibe isn't quite there. That's worse than it just being complete trash, because it's like yeah, like you say, it's like this uncanny valley. It's like there's something not there.
Right. And I guess you could say the average or casual music fan, you know, may not pick up. The people that listen to like whatever the top 10 is, they might not even care. Music might just be just something to put on the background, but we don't really, not like they're not people or anything.
NPCs, I think, is what you're talking about.
Like
NPCs.
Huh? Yeah.
No, but music for most people, music is a background, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But
It's totally fine.
if you're looking for art, if you're looking for experience, then I think it's okay for you to expect more. I think it's all right for you to be hungry for something deeper, and you know, there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with you not wanting that. But if you do want that, you should be able to find it, and it should be. I think it should be sort of like an honest play field. Like, yeah, I'm gonna make a bunch of EDM. I'm gonna put it on a USB stick. I'm gonna go and do a DJ set where I just pretend to be doing shit for like 30 grand. And yeah, fine. People like it. They're gonna pay for it. It's capitalism. Whatever. But that's not the same as being a musician. Not the same as, you know, like spending most of your life learning to be really, really good at an instrument and you know, playing for like 7 people and that's your joy. I mean, that's art.
Well, plus, there's a little bit, I feel like there's more sustainability with the latter.
Sometimes.
Like those 7 people, they're going to resonate more, and they're going to attach themselves to, you know, whoever.
I mean, I would rather have like 7 people who absolutely understood what I was doing than 7 million people who just liked it because other people liked it. And, you know, I mean, of course, I'd like the paycheck of the 7 million, but honestly, artistically, it's so much more rewarding when someone comes to you and says, I really like what you do, and they say something to you that actually resonates with your feeling about what you do. Like they really understand your point. That's so much more valuable artistically. Doesn't translate financially, but artistically, it's just so much. It's worth so much more.
I guess real success would be to have at least a fair amount of both.
I don't really know what real success looks like, actually. I mean, financial success is you can just buy some fucking stupid meme cryptocurrency and become a millionaire. Is that financial success is nothing. Artistic success, I don't know what that looks like, because I think most artists that I know, myself included, are never happy with what they make, what they create. It's never good. Like it's never good enough. It's never. I think the moment that you think what you've created is great, you're not really an artist anymore. I don't know. It's a completely thankless role. You know.
I don't think any artist by nature is going to be satisfied and rest on laurels. And once they do,
I think every artist always has another artist in mind. With every time they create something, that you look at it's someone else in your vision, you're like, yeah, but this person would have done this, and it would have been way better.
Yeah. Well, let me see here. Well, I know I've tied you up a good bit here, man. We'll wrap this up with one last little question here. I normally end these with a like your typical top 4 band kind of thing, but I'd rather do something different, a little more interesting with you in honor of all of our film score talk. All right. I don't know if you might have top 4 composers, but give me your top 4 film scores. Like
top 4 film scores. Star Wars, obviously.
Sure.
Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Okay.
Vertigo. And
good one.
Fuck. I'm trying not to put more John Williams in this one. I was going to say E.T. because he's writing the shit out of that score, but wait. No, I'm going to say E.T.
Fuck it, go ahead. It's a good one. Well, hell yeah, man. Dude, I appreciate your time. Thank everybody for tuning in here. Is there anything coming up with Mayhem that you want to try to plug?
No, at the moment it's just live stuff. You know, we've got a bunch of festivals coming up. We're in Vegas in August with the Psycho thing, which is going to be fucking cool, by the way. I think we play the same day as a couple of the Wu-Tang guys, so that's going to be something.
Awesome.
Yeah, no, mainly at the moment it's just the live stuff. Like if you're around, if you see that we're playing, please come out, because it's so important now to support live music, because that's everyone's trying to survive now. Everyone's, you know, the industry's sort of kicking back to life. So yeah, but we're going to keep going for a while with the Demon tour, and then hopefully we have something new. That'll be the next thing. But no, basically just keep doing what you're doing, because the fans have been amazing. Since we restarted, it's been really good. So
awesome. I know I speak for everybody when I say, looking very forward to hearing the follow-up to Demon. It was easily one of my favorite albums that year, for sure. And hopefully I get to catch you out on the road.
Give me a shout, and I'll make sure you're on the list.
Much obliged. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, you too.
All right. You have a good weekend, Charles, and thanks everybody for tuning in. See you, man.